This is the Rain Sports Network. This is Rain 2020 Sports Update brought to you by Consumer Cellular. Consumer Cellular, the best price for all of your phone needs. Go to www.consumercellular.com. I'm Michael Lewis. It is the NCAA march to the Sweet 16 right now in the men's action. It's number 2 Marquette over number 10 Colorado 74 to 71. That is in the fourth. That is in the second half. Also, in the women's side, the the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks are leading North Carolina by a score of 56 to 19 at halftime. Kim Mulkey is going to try to sue the Washington Post over an article that is going to come out, and the possibility may loom that there could be some repercussions from LSU. That's your 2020 sports update on the net. Coming up next, it's the Sports Zone. You are listening to Main Sports Network, the home of champions, consistent, and a champion, the Rain Sports Network. You're listening to the Sports Zone on the Rain with the sportsman, Michael Lewis, Courtney Mendenhall. Get it to talk now at 1 800 333 2121 or 1713 444 TLK 415 333 TLK. Now from points across America, here is the sportsman and Courtney. You know, I try not to even think about it anymore. I'm not going to even think about it. I should have listened to Courtney last week, not even played any bracket. Yo, I, never mind. Who's Oakland? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for listening to us on the Sports Zone right here when you got a West Virginia show. Um, anyway, thank you for listening to the Sports Zone right here on the Rain Sports Network. You know, let's see. Okay, made a bracket last Tuesday. My bracket was busted Thursday. Thanks for Oakland. I don't know who Oakland is. Oh,
You picked, so you had
Kentucky.
Kentucky beating Oakland.
Yeah, I mean, never mind.
That's just probably like everybody else's bracket because I think that's when everybody's bracket busted.
I think this eclipse that's coming up on the 8th. I think Courtney. I think that's what's screwing up everything.
Yeah.
Eclipse. The eclipse. I mean, maybe the eclipse might win. Who knows? I don't know. Any event, it's a sports zone. It's the sports with Michael Lewis along with Courtney Mendenhall. Courtney, I see you got the West Virginia shirt on. Staying true to the Mountaineers.
Yeah,
I think
I'm actually I came from church today and slipped on a shirt because I wanted to get more comfortable. So why not just wear my West Virginia stuff today
West
because the women
Virginia
are playing
shirt.
in the tournament.
Yeah, I think the women are still in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the women are still in it as well. We'll talk about that as well. We'll talk about the disaster of March Madness if you did to bracket, and we'll talk about some of the excitement of March Madness as well. Also, you can follow us on the Sports Zone on X, on X, whatever that thing is called, and also you can listen to us on Spotify on KRBH 97.1 and RTV television on YouTube. Don't forget, tomorrow you can also watch this show on our TV television, our rewind show, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on RTV television via YouTube as well. All right. Zone In is brought to you by Evermore Water. Evermore Water, more better water. www.evermore.com. Evermore, just the right source of pure alkaline water. All right. Now, Courtney, we're not going to get into the good, bad, and the ugly of the sports tournament yet, but we want to probably say this story has, since the opening of baseball season overseas, has pretty much rocked the sports world, as you probably know. As you probably know, Shitani Otani signed probably one of the highest contracts in Major League Baseball. And as you probably know, he's had an interpreter. And the interpreter has worked with the Dodgers, has worked with Otani for the last 5 years, when they're real close friends. And they worked with him when he was with the crosstown Los Angeles Angels as well. Otani's here pictured, played in the game against the Seoul series against the San Diego Padres as they came back and won Game One, 5-2 over the Padres after the Padres won Game Two. Meanwhile, in game after Game One, his actual interpreter was fired by the Dodgers as well because for some reason or other there had been reports that 4.5 million dollars was taken out of Shitani Otani's account and used by his interpreter for gambling purposes. Did
Mm.
not bet on baseball, but did bet on other things such from soccer to even the Super Bowl as well. Courtney, let's talk about this for a minute. Um, could this actually taint the Dodgers' image going forward this year in the regular season? Will this be a distraction to them, even though they they pretty much highly priced their team this year with superstars? But could this actually hurt not only them but also the Major League season going forward?
I believe it can. And I actually just had a conversation with my dad about this, about gambling in sports. And we were talking about the Kim Mulkey situation with the Washington Post. And we were talking about how like gambling is definitely going to be affecting sports in the next 5 to 10 years because they've made it legal and they've allowed people to do it everywhere else. So once it's allowed everywhere else, people are going to think that they can do it wherever, and it taints the image of sports in general, not just the Dodgers. And I think that now that they're under the camera with this situation, I think they're going to be monitored. A lot of teams, including them, will be monitored a lot closer now. Um, Personally, I've never, got involved with gambling with any type of interest like sports or music or anything like that. But the way I look at it is, um, it takes the image, the pure image away from it, if that makes sense. Um, I don't agree to do it, and I would definitely make a rule that's like concrete along the entire league that lets people know, like, hey, you can't just do this just because other people are doing it. It has to be uniforms for some people to understand that once you keep gambling, you're going to get caught up in some stuff and people are going to be crooked after that. It's just like with politics. Like, you stay in something long enough, there's going to be some trouble with it.
Yeah, and I think just as somebody that owes taxes and all this other
Yeah.
stuff, try to rig an election and still grandpa. But yeah, I think that this is really, sports has really become a lot more. I was having a conversation with a former athlete of mine who's a head coach at one of the women's head coach at one of the D1 schools, and we were just talking. She said, the situation, gambling is going to be the biggest headache, not only in pro sports, but among athletes, but I could see it. There was a gambling investigation of two. higher frame D1 schools. And the
Hmm.
good you brought up about the Kim Mulkey situation, we'll talk about that later because I got a ton of stuff that I dug up about that. But in regards to this, I think with the NIL ruling, players making money and everything like that, you're going to have athletes that are going to go across that line and will put you're going to see more. I would say you're going to see more top tier NCAA Division One schools most likely go on top probation, such as the Georgias, the USC's, the Tennessees, the LSU's. You're going to see those. It doesn't matter what sport it is. I could see this happening because of NIL. These guys get their money, and women get their money, or whatever, and they're going to actually just start gambling.
Right.
Coaches have done it as well. But I
Yeah.
think the situation with the Major League Baseball, you already have athletes that are now going on the the situation of being suspended for PDs or for 80, 90 days or banned for a year. And then, you already have the situation with the, with this. And then you already have the situation with tampering, with contract tampering. This is just going to make a big, it's going to make the Dodgers look like they basically are the New England Patriots of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I can
You
see
know,
that.
you know,
I
I
can
just,
definitely see that. And the thing about it is, before we get to the college conversation, I was talking with my dad about how I remember, like, maybe a decade or so ago, how those four UConn men's basketball players came forward saying that they didn't have money to get food on campus. And now you have all this NIL money. You have people betting on NIL stuff. You have the gambling problem in the professional sports. And he told me, he said, I can see it actually becoming a problem in the next 5 to 10 years because it's going to be a lot of legal trouble. And I agree because you're just free to do it right now. I just got an update. It said Duke just beat Ohio State in the women's tourney.
yeah, we're going to talk about that as well. Because Duke was struggling against Ohio State. Now my women's bracket is now busted because I had Ohio State. I had the eclipse, I tell you. Oh, but I think the really big thing is, and just to kind of close out on this, is the fact is that the Dodgers bought a team, added on what they already have with Mookie Betts and with Freddie Freeman and adding on the Otani and the other Japanese import and paying them a ton of gazillions of dollars. But here's the thing: this what tells me right now, you could have the best record in the National League West, and I can tell you right now, the Dodgers will be just like they've been the last 3 years, one and done in the playoffs. And that's going to be it. You can't buy your way to a championship; you have to earn it.
Yep, that's true.
All right, let's go to the next one. This, boy, Courtney, I'm going to listen to you for more, whatever the case may be. I'm going to start listening to you. you know, I really think that for some reason, either it's the eclipse or it's the groundhog. I don't know, global warming. I don't know what's going on. But March Madness brought a lot of different things, and it got schools that I didn't even know existed. But I do know one thing: Kentucky, don't go back at all. Go to the NIT if you can. Just go to the NIT. Just do us all a favor. Lose 20 games, 15 games, doesn't really matter. Just go to the NIT. We don't want to see you anymore. Because this is not my hometown city. Who in the heck is Oakland? Not California. Oakland University. I found out that this university is outside of Detroit. Oakland. Well,
Stop. Are you serious?
Oakland. This is who beat Kentucky. Oakland. You know, I this seed was here's the thing. Kentucky was a 3 seed. Oakland was a 14 seed. If you have a 14 seed and you're playing against them, you're a 3 seed and you have had all these national championships, could you have just stopped the guy that kept shooting the 3-pointers? There was a guy from Oakland that missed his first six shots at 3-point lane. He hit 10 straight 3-pointers in the second half and killed Kentucky by himself. Okay. Anyway, another powerhouse lost. Well, this wasn't really a game that I would think. Kansas was eliminated by Gonzaga yesterday. But the reason why Charles Barkley is not on set at the CBS Sports desk of March Madness is because this was terrible. Number 11 Yale, number 13 Yale beat number 4 Auburn in overtime yesterday. And Yale is one step away from their first ever Sweet 16 in school history. You know, if you have a bracket, I'm going to just tell everybody this. If you have a bracket, do what Courtney tells you to do. Don't play it. Don't play a bracket. You know, by the time you look at you're so happy on Thursday. Game started at 11 o'clock Eastern, Central, noon Eastern. And by the time you look around Friday, you're depressed. Because there have been, and this is really strange, Courtney, out of all of these, and this will roll into the next topic, out of all of these brackets, 5.5 million brackets were submitted on ESPN, CBS Sports, and even on Yahoo Sports. Do you know how many brackets are perfect now?
Probably like 2 or 3.
1% of the brackets are perfect.
I figured that.
1% of the brackets. Now, this is on the men's side. However, on the women's side, there are 98% of the brackets are still perfect to a point. If Ohio State lost, then it's down to 90%. I'm at 90, now probably 89 because I picked Ohio State to win today. I really didn't feel, even though I know Kara Lawson like this, still. In event. Are you in a March Sadness bracket? Yes, I am. My percentages went from 100% on Thursday. Now on ESPN, I'm at 46.4 because of Oakland. In event, let's move on to the next one. And you're watching the Listen to Sports Center right here on the Reign as well. As you probably know, Courtney did bring something out. Legendary head coach and Basketball Hall of Fame head coach Kim Mulkey is very upset. Oops, got the wrong ticker. Sorry. Legendary coach Kim Mulkey has fired off at the Washington Post for an article that is due to be coming out soon. Supposedly, the Washington Post or whoever wrote the article at the Washington Post, for some reason or another, has talked to numerous players, from former players from LSU and also former players who played under Coach Mulkey, either at Baylor, where she coached and coached a championship or two with Brittany Griner, and also at LSU, some of the disgruntled players at LSU as well. According to this post or this article that's going to come out, it supposedly shows a Bobby Knight type of attitude of Kim Mulkey with some of these disgruntled players who formerly played with her, and also some of the players who played at LSU and some who played at Baylor. Mulkey says that for some reason or other, players were getting talked, even some of her current players on the women's team were getting talked to by this Post reporter, by Washington Post, even after they won that game over Rice, which they barely got out of that one alive. Courtney, what is your thought? I know we talked about this. What is your? I'll let you take the floor first on this one.
Okay, well, as a person that has a journalism background, studied journalism and ethics and everything when I was in college, I think it is. I don't think it's a bad thing for coaches to speak out. I think it's needed because coaches do a lot of things and deal with a lot of things behind the scenes that players and that the players know about, but the outside world might not know exactly what goes on behind closed doors. Now, as a coach, I think Kim Mulkey is a great coach. However, I understand that as a journalist, you have a job to do, you have stories to tell, but you should just be mindful of exactly how you do it. You don't want to cause any controversy because you never know in the future who you'll need as a point of reference or another source. One thing I learned when I was taking journalism classes in college was this might not have anything to do with the subject, but um, to not always try to be the first one to put something out because you risk being inaccurate, you risk controversy, you risk losing out on trusted sources. And if you always try to rush to put something out first, then you won't have all the details to be able to tell the story that you need to tell. So I won't say I agree with either side, but I understand both sides because I've been in the shoes of a coach and I've been in the shoes of being a reporter. Um, Kim Mulkey is very feisty anyway, so it doesn't surprise me that she actually is speaking out about this because she's very animated, especially on the sidelines. So
Hmm.
it didn't surprise me at all.
I think the really big thing is with this Mulkey situation is a lot. I think a lot of people have taken it out of context. I think that and playing against her, ESPN analyst Andrea Carter, who played against Mulkey in tournaments when she was at Baylor, stated this morning on the pregame with her and Elle Duncan and Rebecca Lobo. He said that all this does really is just going to fuel LSU, the women when they play again today.
I agree.
Um,
Yep.
it's gonna fuel them, and she said that it's going to be really sad to see Middle Tennessee State being caught up in this fire because LSU knows, Kim Mulkey knows that LSU didn't play well against Rice, and then now they have this come up and they have these players being talked to as well before their game against Rice. I think that's even more fuel the grid because a lot of players, I think. Um, Angel Reese said after the ball game against Rice, she said, uh, this morning, she said, I just want to play better. I didn't play well against Rice. I'm going to leave that to Coach Mulkey to reside upon that. We're not
Yeah.
talking about that situation. We're talking about playing against Middle Tennessee State and playing a better game. And I think that's a great approach for her to have.
Agreed.
Great approach for that. Let's go to the next one, and the next one is that I've you know I've loved Gio Ariema, and after yesterday, I love him. Loved his demeanor after yesterday's ball game. Yesterday, the Tennessee, the the Jackson State University Tigers and uh, three-time Coach of the Year Tamika Reed, who I've had on the show before, and Hall of Fame coach Gina Auriemma faced off in a first-round match as Connecticut defeated Jackson State on ABC yesterday by a score of 98, 93, and 38. However, Auriemma said about Tamika Reed, she said that there should be more opportunities for not just for coaches within the D1 schools. Let these openings be more diverse, where HBCU coaches can actually get a crack at one of these non-HBCU schools because they work harder than we do, but there should be some pay equality as well because of the fact is that HBCU coaches are getting less flowers on their paychecks than, especially in the women's game, than they are in the men's game. I feel like HBCU should be seated higher in the bracket, in NCAA bracket, whether it be men's or women's. And I think Tamika Reed is probably one of the better better reasons why she should be a coach at a higher one Division 1 school. And I thought that was very eloquent, even after winning, defeating Jackson State, which is a good program, and Tamika Reed's an excellent coach. Um, what are your thoughts about that comments?
I think that's very classy of him to mention the HBCU culture in that statement because although I did not attend an HBCU for school, I coached at an HBCU, and there is a lot of different things that go on at HBCUs that you don't get to see anywhere else. And this is a good thing because it's a great atmosphere that you feel like you belong at, where it's like family. And when I was at the school I was at, um, I'd never met a stranger. When I would walk on campus and people would see me, they'd be like, "Hey, coach!" Like kids that I didn't even coach would speak to me, and the administration was so supportive. And those were some hardworking athletes. I got to see them in the gym working out and lifting weights and doing all the things behind the scenes that they have to do to be ready to compete. And the only thing that I would say that I wish I could see more of is actually more funding for those schools. I coached at a private HBCU, and we didn't have the amount of funding that we should have had. And you'd be surprised that there are some amazing coaches at the HBCU sector, and it's a lot of talent out there. Here in Virginia, we have Hampton University, Norfolk State, Virginia Union, Virginia State, and all of those schools are very well known, especially to the people here in Danville, where I live, my hometown. And anytime you tell someone that you went there or you played a sport there, they treat it with so much respect. And I think it's a good thing that Gino Ariema mentioned that as well, because that could be another thing that drives the more diversity into this tournament. Instead of just seeing these top Power Five schools go every year, Hampton might come out one year and actually make it to the tournament. And um, another thing that I noticed, I wanted to add this as well because my alma mater, Radford University, is in the Big South Conference, and it's a Division 1 school. It's a smaller Division 1 school though. But just a couple of years ago, they added Hampton to the Big South, so that's the only HBCU that's in that conference. So it just brings more diversity, and it shows that the different side, because we know that the stereotype of blacks always being paired with athletics and not education. Like there are some very brilliant minds at these HBCUs as far as the coaches go, as far as the athletes go.
I think, being around, like I said, I didn't attend an HBCU school, but I'm around three of them, or two of them, and Prairie View University in Texas, and A&M and Texas Southern University here in the Metro Houston area. Um, but I've been around them, living in Charlotte. I worked the CIAA tournament and being around Johnson C. University,
Yep.
Russ, And their tournament was always it was a beauty thing of beauty. Then it was Time Warner Arena when I lived there, but now it's probably something different in Charlotte. But I tell you what, um, you get the MEAC and the CIAA playing against each other, competing against each other in tournament play or showcase. And I can tell you right now, back then it wasn't HBCUs weren't really that well versed or say well represented. And even and I love what Gino said. It's like HBCU coaches and the average just excuse me, even Dawn Staley said the same thing. She said the average HBCU coach, if she could give some of her money, put some of her money into the HBCU, because she's a big supporter, but she could put some of her money into the HBCU, any school, as far as getting these coaches the pay they deserve. No coach should get like a Tamika Reed or any other great coach. No coach should get a certain amount of money where we in a five top tier D1 school, top tier D1 schools are getting somewhere between the neighborhood of of five and a half to maybe five and a half to maybe $6 million a year. And you figure we stay there 3 years, we've made $60 million, while these guys are just barely making 3 million by staying there 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a disparity, and I think Gino hit the head on the nail. He said these coaches should deserve top tier D1 opportunities, and also you should never put a HBCU as a low seed under 10, under over 10 seed in any basketball tournament. And I think that's just eloquent. That's just eloquent. Um, that is just eloquent. And I think Gina Ariema should be should be really really commended for that. As you probably know, um, as you probably know, I forgot to add this in. I don't know if everybody remembers Leslie Johnson or Daniel Adams, but the player of the week that we have to so far that has made an impact. We always talk about Juju Watkins and everything else. Let's not forget Audie Crooks.
Oh yeah.
Crooks, Crooks is probably one of the most physical centers. The 6'3" Crooks is probably one of the most physical centers as well. She's runs around anywhere between 260, 270 when she started, but she's toned down now. She's at 255, but probably one of the most physical centers at just physical. Crooks and her Iowa State Lady Cyclones defeated Maryland, who I also picked to get out of the first round. I picked Maryland. Um, and Audie Crooks scored 40 points, 40 points in that victory over in that very thrilling victory over Maryland. I just had to give props to her because she reminds me of a Daniel Adams who played at Texas A&M but played with Sacramento with the Monarchs then, and also reminded me of Leslie Johnson, very big, wide, physical center, and she took it. She took it. And at Stanford, I'm gonna be honest with you, Tara Vanderveer, you better have a diesel ready to play against this woman this afternoon because she's ooh, she manhandled she manhandled she manhandled Maryland by herself. So Audie Crooks, this is one young lady you're going to be hearing a lot about after Cardozo's leave and play Caitlin Clark's and you know Jackson's from Tennessee. This is one young lady you're going to hear about. Let's get to this next one. As you probably know, the NCAA always screens their referees, screens their officials as well. And as you probably know, the situation happened yesterday. As you probably know, the uh, I believe it's the Tennessee Chattanooga ball club took on. I believe they played. I believe it was. Let me get this straight. Yesterday,
Was it NC State?
NC State. Thank you very much, Courtney.
You're welcome.
And so yesterday, a actual referee was removed from the game as well because of the fact that she had some ties as far as attending the University of Tennessee Chattanooga, and that caused that being a actual conflict of interest. She was removed. Um, Tommy Paris was her name, and she was removed. And this was the statement from uh, the Raleigh committee. Angelica Suffren, who had worked the first game of the session, was in the on-call position. They had to maintain a full officiating crew, and with plus she was on standby. For whatever reason, Paris played for University of Tennessee Chattanooga and attended school there, even though she went to Europe. She went to Radford. She went to Radford as well, and got a degree as well, a bachelor's degree. But supposedly she went to another school, but going to UT Chattanooga, they call that a conflict of interest, and they had to pull her because of the background. Her background didn't match. I guess something it didn't match in the background. But pulling a referee out right in the middle of the match, and both teams thought it was actually, there was actually an injured player. It was just they had to remove Paris from the game. Your thoughts, Courtney?
I think it's very strange. And the reason I say that is because when you become a referee or an official or umpire or whatever sport you're officiating, you have to go through a lot of different background checks and you have to go through a lot of screening. So when people are actually signing up for games to work or they're being assigned games to work, you would think that with the application process that they have, they would already know what person can and can't work certain games. That's just how I see it. I've had instances where I've asked myself, like, what things can I not do? What would be a conflict of interest? And I guess some people might not think about that when they, working in sports because they might think it's okay, especially if you didn't necessarily play for a team, but you went to school there, they might think it's still okay. But 9 times out of 10, if you went to a school and, that school is in the tournament and you're a referee, you're going to be connected with alumni chapters and things like that. So I could see where that would be a conflict of interest. However, doing it in the middle of the game, that's kind of an inconvenience and it would kind of change the momentum, shift the momentum. But I feel like they should have been more prepared before the match actually happened. And I wanted to add that Chattanooga has had an amazing season. I actually went to Radford with one of their assistant coaches, and she coached at I think it's, how do you say it, Valdosta in
Go.
Georgia. Yeah, but she coaches at Chattanooga now, and she actually played at Radford. So I watched her play in college, and they had an amazing season. So it's unfortunate that they didn't make it past NC State, but the NC State women have been very dominant this year too. So my hats off to both teams dealing with that situation, and Chattanooga going through the great season they had because they were undefeated in conference play, if I'm not mistaken. So, that's very unfortunate, but we just got to make sure that we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed when it comes to putting people in place.
I think, and also to correct, let me correct where Paris went to school. She did go to school for Radford at Radford for a little bit, but she actually had finished a bachelor's degree at
Okay.
Furman University. Yeah. Also, I think this situation, I agree with you. I think that there has to be a lot of screening, and just like at any job, you're going to go through a background check to
Right.
make sure that the actual person doesn't have a crime or anything like that. But to do it in the middle of a game, I think Paris should have finished that ball game as well. Should have finished the ball game, not do it in the middle of the game, but finish the ball game. Because if there are two more games in Raleigh that same day on that Saturday, so then reliever of her duties, if you feel that this was going to be a conundrum, then just basically relieve her of her duties, but not in the middle of a basketball game. That holds up, and that they can, both teams are thinking, okay, where did this referee come from? And I thought this other referee was in. Now we got her now, and because officials are going to call the games differently. And I agree with you. I think it should have waited until after that Chattanooga, the Chattanooga, North Carolina State game had ended. Then for game three, that because all the games in Raleigh didn't end till probably roughly around till 7 o'clock Eastern time last night. So they had two other games thereafter. So they could have actually had the other referee that came on to just work those other two games that maybe Paris had been on to actually work. All right, let me just basically tell you something here so we won't get the Easter eggs all thrown together and everything thrown together. And then, and it's bad enough we got bad brackets. And then we're going to have an eclipse the day after. I don't know. Ah, boy. Groundhog. In any event, happy Easter. We will return Sunday, April 7th, 2024, when the women's Final Four is before the eclipse. Hopefully that doesn't screw everything up. Anyway, we'll be back on April 7th. As you guys know, this is actually next week is going to be actually they call it Holy Week. So next week, enjoy your time with your families, your loved ones as well, and uh, just just be safe during the Holy Weekend, Easter weekend, next weekend. But we will return April 7th, 2024 as well, and we can probably review the women's Final Four since it's going to be that day. Uh, and men, I don't care. In any event, if Houston doesn't make it, I really don't care. And Connecticut doesn't make it, I really don't care. Let's go to the next one. As you probably know, speaking of Houston, we are almost close to the end because I think we won't be here next week because of Easter weekend. But we're remembering an actual legend, Cheryl Swoops. As you probably know, on the right hand side, played with the first ever dynasty of the WNBA back in from 1997 to 2000. They were known as the Big Three: her, Tina Thompson, and Cynthia Cooper. Thompson, as you know, is now an analyst for CBS Sports Network, and Cooper is now working as a consultant to the Houston Rockets as well here in Houston. Swoops is now running camps in the Houston area, and at three, well, they won four titles. They were the first ever dynasty to do that in a 4 year span, in the first 4 years of the WNBA. Swoops was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame as well, just last year. And also, there was a record that was broken by you know who yesterday. Caitlin Clark in the actual game, the Iowa defeated Holy Cross yesterday. Broke Cheryl Swoops' tournament record. Swoops held the tournament record uh, set by Swoops back in the tournament run of 1990, I believe, two. Uh, Swoops had a tournament point record of 1,002, 1,001 points. Clark broke that record with 1,002 yesterday in the win over Holy Cross. Um, your thoughts on Cheryl Swoops?
As soon as you mentioned Cheryl Swoops, I was thinking about a verse from J. Cole when he actually mentioned her in a song. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. And anytime I hear that name, I think about that song. But she's definitely a trailblazer, and I think it's very interesting. Excuse me, I think I have to sneeze. Went away. Okay, so I think it's very interesting to see the players when they retire to become analysts and things like that and get inducted in the Hall of Fame. As far as Caitlin Clark breaking her record, that's very impressive because Cheryl Swoops was the truth when she played. So Caitlin Clark, I know that although she's very removed from that generation, that she probably looks up to people like her too. So it's probably a surreal feeling for her. And the big three in that category, like when I was growing up, that's who I heard of, like Cynthia Cooper and Cheryl Swoops and all of those young ladies. But it's just great to see more history being made, especially in Women's History Month. And I've been actually taking the time this month to acknowledge the women pioneers that came before myself and read a little bit more on them to see exactly the things that they've gone through, the way that they've changed the path for others like myself to follow. And it's very inspirational. As a woman, I feel like there are many great examples out there for me. So definitely want to shout out to Caitlin Clark for breaking that record. And I didn't realize that Cheryl Swoops had been inducted last year. So congratulations, a late congratulations to her for that.
I think watching Cheryl play, and I ran into her as well, met her many a times when she would come out west in the first 4 years of the WNBA and would kill the the team that was the low end of the WNBA at the time that I was working for, the Sacramento Monarchs, the then Monarchs before they became great when they got Yolanda Griffith, before they won a championship. I think the really big thing is when you meet and you talk to Cheryl Swoops and you hear her speak. She can tell you she's just a country girl from Brownwood, Texas, in the West Texas town of Brownwood. She went to Texas Tech. You know, um, she had she had such charisma and such class as well, and I think that bodes well. She developed the WNBA game and became the first ever woman athlete to have her own shoe named after her, the Air Swoops, back the same time that Michael Jordan, his airline was just getting big as well. So a lot of props out to Cheryl Swoops as well. Don't forget, nothing is really behind us, but just the best of the street mental is next at 3:05 Eastern, 2:05 Central. Let me get you caught up on something. Marquette has defeated Colorado 81-77. As far as the games later on tonight, and as far as the women is concerned, the murder in Greenville is still on. South Carolina is just all over North Carolina, 80-36 with 4:33 left in the fourth. Um, Duke and uh, Duke and uh, Ohio State in the women's bracket. Ohio State's gone. I picked them. Um, and I'm sorry, I
It was
can't
just the
help
way you said it. Ohio State's gone. I picked them.
Anyway, Duke defeated Ohio State 75-63 as well. And Reagan Richardson had 26 points, 4 3-pointers to beat to lead Duke as well in that one. Later on this afternoon, uh, Stanford will take on the buzzsaw of they'll feel the buzzsaw of Audi Audi of Audi C and the uh, uh, Iowa State Lady Cyclones. They are number two Stanford will take on them, and then later on this afternoon, I believe Connecticut is playing tomorrow, and LSU is playing tomorrow or today. Well, I have to double check as well. Also, also some other news as well as we go into the um, KCMO in Kansas City has stated that the Kansas City Chiefs uh, has sent Ladarius Sneed, the star cornerback who helped them win their second Super Bowl, back-to-back Super Bowls, by defeating that team that can't win one. Um, they send him to the Titans. The Titans will send a one and a one this year, and also a two next year, and a one in 2026 as well. Um, Also, I'm not for sure. You remember Travis Etienne, I believe. Travis Etienne. He plays for Jacksonville. Played at
No.
Clemson. He played at Clemson with Trevor Lawrence, but he played at Trevor. In any event, his uh, his brother Taylor Etienne who plays for Georgia, the running back for Georgia, was arrested this early Sunday morning for a DWI charge.
Mm.
He was coming back I guess, from a party, and was arrested there, but was released on bond as well. All right, so we got you caught up. All right, well, I'm gonna reach just to let everybody know, so everybody will be expecting Courtney and I. Well, first of all, Courtney, I forgot to tell you, congratulations on your part in the movie.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you so much.
the congratulations on the part in the movie. I forgot to tell you that. And it's just like we've been thinking about all this crapping about who Oakland University is and where this team is and why the back. Never mind, let me stop. But no, congratulations on your part in your movie. Uh, Hopefully, they will give you will. This is on you're on your way to bigger and better things as far as more movies, more Academy Award nominations. And I'm just kidding. But good enough. All kidding aside, congratulations on your part as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. So you won't. I know the eclipse is on your mind and everything else, but please just remember, we will not be back until Sunday, April 7th, 2024. It's the women's Final Four day. Now, the men, well, we don't really care much about them because they might not even play because the lights may be off because of the eclipse. Who knows? Oh, boy. Anyway, we won't be back till Sunday, April 7th, 2024. Courtney and I will dig up a lot of great things in regards to, we may have some more on the Kim Mulkey situation. We'll talk about um, the women's Final Four as well, which will be that same day, and that late on in the afternoon. And we'll, we'll be back. Just everybody be safe as well. All right. We swing down to, don't forget, the best of the street mentor with the, with really probably one of the best sports performance management, mental performance management experts. Rihanna Henderson is up next at 2:05 Eastern Central. And yeah, I get confused. This bracket has me all confused now. 3:05 Eastern, 2:05 Central bracket. I don't know. This is Eclipse, I think.
It's gonna
All
be all
right.
right.
Not the Eclipse. I know some Oakland University. In any event, as you probably know, we're gonna go to our last few minutes. March Madness. Our zone take is going to be our final four predictions. I'll let you go first.
Um, I'll be honest. I really don't have a Final Four because I'm not participating in any bracket stuff. I've just been keeping track of who's been winning and losing. So I I don't know. I really don't know. I just feel like anything can happen because remember I told you my story that happened to me when I did my first bracket. And UVA was in the Final Four and won the championship that year, and the next year they lost out the first round. So I feel like anything can happen.
I'm picking Yale for the men. I
Okay.
mean, because the eclipse. I mean, anything is happening. I mean, I don't see Connecticut. I don't see Houston. Yale. I mean, I've given up. I mean, it's Yale. I mean, at this point, hey, Grand Canyon. If all I care, Grand Canyon University.
I have a question.
Yes,
Has Grand Canyon always had sports?
they had it 4 years ago. They just started it 4 years ago in Phoenix.
Okay, I was wondering about that because I did some research on some degree programs there, and
Hmm.
they were asking me like, what did I want to do with sports? Would I consider coming to campus to get
Hmm.
involved on campus? And I'm like, well, do you guys have sports? And they were like, no. I'm like, what?
Yeah, they had
And now
yeah
to
two
see
years
them
ago.
now, it's just like that's amazing that they're in this position right now.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, they got funded for sports, and they ended up going into the I think it's the Mountain West Conference.
Okay,
Same conference that my old alma mater UNLV is in.
okay.
Was um, but yeah, and Grand Canyon. I'm gonna pick them to win the whole thing. I don't care at this point. After you see Oakland and this, never mind. I'm like, I'm beginning to think like Charles Barkley. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. Anyway, all right. Well, Courtney, another great show in the books. You be safe, I guess. And by the time I don't know, Yale might win it. I don't know. Things. Grand Canyon. Heck, Oakland might come back and win it. Oh, forgot they lost yesterday. That's gonna do it for the sport. That's gonna do it for the sports. So right here on the raid. Don't forget you can watch us on Monday on on the RTV television network, and I don't even. I'm just gonna just watch the whole. I'm just gonna watch and just never mind. For Courtney Mendenhall, I'm the sportsman Michael Lewis. Thank you very much for joining us on the Sports Zone. Please be safe for your Easter and Holy Week. Be blessed and do something nice for someone as well. And we hope to see you on the 7th of April on the Sports Zone. God bless. Talk to you soon. You have been listening and watching the Sports Zone on the RTV television and Rain Sports Network.